What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We are here with another episode of the Crypto Club, doing things a little bit differently this week. We are here with Gons and Dennis as always, but we actually have George from Edge Node.
What's up, everyone? Excited to be here.
Appreciate
I'm
you
super
coming on, George. Um,
super excited for this episode as well. George, thanks for hopping on.
Absolutely. This is going to be a great one. George has a lot of valuable insights and he's been in crypto for a very long time. So you guys should definitely enjoy this episode.
100%. We'll kind of dig into some more of this in a little bit here, but let's kick off this episode with a market overview as always. Let me just go ahead and share my screen here so that everyone can see what's going on. So looking at the Bitcoin chart, still holding that 200 MA, which is, a great sign. We're still holding above that. We have taken a little bit of a tumble today, down 3.5%, pretty much across the board. Matic down 7%, looking a little rough here. But still a higher high, higher low so far. We'll see if that changes. A little shake up, but overall we're still plenty high off of the recent low. So can't complain too much. ETH sitting at around 1600. Still a higher high, higher low so far. Also holding that 200 MA. ETH did come a little closer to a bounce off of the 200 MA, which I personally like to see. Bitcoin a little higher above it, not quite a bounce. Maybe we come down and touch it. We will just see about that. Let's take a look at Matic here since it's down so much. Matic's been one of the better performers in this recent uptrend in crypto. So, you can see it. Let's see, from 74 cents up to $1.50. Geez. And I mean, the low was 33 cents. So, we're talking about, where's that, a 5x? So, I'm not really surprised we're seeing a bigger dip in Matic as we are compared to the rest of the crypto market. We will see how the coming weeks play out. Really not too much going on. I think this dip's to be expected after what we've seen in the past few weeks. Without further ado, let's get into George. So, George, can you kind of just tell us about yourself? What is it exactly you do at Edge and Node and the Graph?
Totally. So my background's a bit eclectic. I've worked in U.S. government at NASA. I've worked in professional sports with the San Francisco Giants in the Rugby World Cup. My last role was in the Israeli government's innovation arm, where I helped Israeli founders penetrate the West Coast. And now I am finally working full-time in Web3 at Edge and Node as the ecosystem manager.
Awesome. So kind of getting into a little bit deeper, what got you interested in blockchain and crypto? I know speaking with you for a while, you've been in it for a minute, but just if you can kind of brainstorm a bit of the past and what got you truly interested in this technology.
For sure. So in undergrad, I studied supply chain management, and that is initially what got me into the rabbit hole of blockchain technology. So digital assurance on the blockchain is what really got my foot in the door. So projects like VeChain stood out to me at the time with their promise of assuring digital goods and physical goods from end to end for consumers. Say, for instance, tracking luxury items end to end, ensuring that the end consumer is getting an authentic item. And ever since then, just diving deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, really big into decentralized physical infrastructure networks right now. That's what I've been focused on for probably the last 3 years. So projects like Helium really take up a lot of my time outside of the 9 to 5. Have a pretty large fleet in the Bay Area, and I've been getting more and more exposed to proof of mobility projects that involve automobiles like HiveMapper and Demo as of late. So super bullish about that sector of the Web3 world.
I'm curious on the infrastructure side of things. Have you seen any adoption on that end? That's a common talking point. For the value of crypto and NFTs in particular is the non-fungibility aspect. Like verifying luxury items are legit, things like that. Have you really seen any adoption, like blockchain being used in that sector?
In infrastructure, for instance, Helium is migrating to Solana in late March. All of the hotspots and nodes that I operate are going to become NFTs. And if I were to sell one of those hotspots, I would have to sell both the physical hotspot and then the NFT to the recipient wallet. So that's one example in terms of infrastructure. I have a large background in sports, so the Golden State Warriors released an playoff NFT collection last season. I purchased one of those NFTs, and as the Warriors progressed further and further in the playoffs, I eventually received physical merchandise. So connecting the digital realm and the physical realm, I think is happening more and more. And I think it'll be a really common occurrence as the technology evolves and as consumers adopt that technology, whether it's knowingly or not. I think when people are adopting the technology without knowing they're using blockchain in the back end is when we will know that we have succeeded in the mission of Web3.
Yeah, I mean, just bringing it back a bit in terms of how did you like personally get involved? Because I know there's still some folks that are a little bit skeptical about this kind of industry. Do you have any advice, or like what got you to be like, okay, I'm getting involved in this sector, and what's like an easy path to start with?
I think finding your niche is definitely the starting point. And I think really acclimating yourself to what is money is a really good foundational point before diving into the whole world of crypto. I think once you understand the history and origins of fiat currency, you kind of have a natural progression into understanding what Bitcoin is and the kind of sovereignty that it promotes. And I think just having that base foundation and understanding of Satoshi's vision really allows the greater scope of Web3 to evolve and better understand what a personal passion is for an individual that's trying to understand what this crazy world of Web3 is about.
Makes sense. Now diving a little bit closer to what you're doing now, can you kind of tell us a little bit about what is the graph for some of the users that or viewers that we have here that might have not heard about it or aren't too knowledgeable around that space?
Totally. So the graph is an open source software. It's used to collect, process, and store data from various blockchain applications to facilitate information retrieval. The graph's mission is to help developers use relevant data to increase the efficiency of their dApps, decentralized applications. So what the graph does is it analyzes and gathers blockchain data before storing it into various indices called subgraphs, which allows any application to send a query to the graph protocol and receive an immediate response. So these queries are posed by dApps through GraphQL, a programming language that was originally created by Facebook to gather data for users' news feeds. So graph users who provide services to the network are called indexers, and delegators help to process the data and pass them on to end users and applications. So the graph's native cryptocurrency, GRT, it's used to ensure the integrity of the data that's secured within the network. So any user, whether they're indexers, curators, or delegators, they must stake GRT to perform their roles, and in return, they earn fees from the network. So the graph is used by a lot of large and popular Ethereum dApps. For example, Aave, Curve, Uniswap, they all leverage the graph for their data aggregation needs.
Yeah, I mean,
and happy to go into more detail for the various roles of the graph ecosystem if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, enlighten us in our community. Anything else that you maybe can add on to that? But yeah, I appreciate the explanation here.
Totally. So I'll go a little bit more into those three roles of curators, indexers, and delegators, since those are really the heartbeat of the network. So curators are subgraph developers who assess which subgraphs are of the highest quality and need to be indexed by the graph. So curators need to attach GRT to the subgraphs that they believe are of the highest quality. Next on the totem pole is indexers, and those are node operators that are tasked with providing indexing and querying services for those signaled subgraphs, and they also must stake GRT to provide those services. And then the last piece of the puzzle are delegators, and those individuals delegate GRT to the indexers in order to contribute to running the network without installing a node. So all these users earn a portion of the network fees for their work dependent on their role. And all of this data can be easily accessed by applications seeking information that will help them run their software through the use of queries. So for the dApp developers, it reduces the requirement of dev resources on that decentralized data stack, and instead they could leverage the Graph Network's API. So a quick example, Decentraland, they access the Graph's information to find land, accessories, and collectibles across applications and brings them into their marketplace, which allows users to purchase them from a central location.
I mean, thanks so much for that deep dive. I think that provides a lot of clarity, but I know you mentioned you work at Edge and Node. So can you kind of talk about Edge and Node and the graph and maybe what roles they kind of commingle in and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So Edge and Node, we are one of 7 core developers of the graph. So Edge and Node, we're developing decentralized protocols and advancing Web3. We're the initial team behind the graph. Some of the other core teams include Masari. So they're largely on the subgraph side of things. They bring transparency and build tools for informed decisions and investments, really. Then there's a few other core teams like Semiotic Labs, Streaming Fast, the Guild, the Graph Foundation, and then Graph Operations. So yeah, it's the 7 core teams that are all contributing to that open source vision of the graph and doing so in a decentralized way.
That's awesome. And so do the teams all work together? So I know you mentioned Masari. Like, does Edge and Node work with them, or are you guys like separate entities? Like, how is that process? And maybe if you can speak to that a bit more.
Totally separate entities. I'm not on the engineering team, so I don't get that daily dose of the close-knit collaboration, but there is a lot of cross-team communication, and everyone's working on a different piece of the puzzle.
That makes sense.
That's very cool. You know, it's a very Web3 approach, I suppose, you know, like collectively working together. You know, it sounds like there's 7 organizations all contributing to the graph. I think that's pretty cool.
We recently heard, I mean, tell me a little bit more about this, but that the Edge and Node opened the House of Web3 in San Francisco in the Presidio. Can you give us some clarity on that, the purpose, any of the tea you got there?
Absolutely. So I'm the ecosystem manager at Edge and Node, and primarily my responsibility is running this side of the business, the House of Web3. Ultimately, our goal is to be the physical innovation hub for Web3 and the builders within that community, both locally and globally. So we're a merit-based co-creation space. Those that are building in Web3 are welcome to apply to co-create from the House of Web3 on edgeandnode.com. And we are really building a community of innovators and pioneers across the entire spectrum of Web3 unique solutions. So we have people working on climate change protocols. We have people working on GameFi, NFTs, really across the board. There are founders trying to solve unique problems, all with their unique takes and perspectives. And the House of Web3 is a melting pot of backgrounds. It's a very open, collaborative, inclusive space where serendipitous connections are made on a daily basis. We host a bunch of developer relations events, a lot of inclusivity events. For instance, we had a Thriving Women in Web3 panel last night, had a big turnout, probably 120 plus people. had a great panel on how to build in Web3 during a crypto winter. And then it's just good old fashioned networking and mingling afterwards. And I think we're really revitalizing San Francisco because there isn't really a hub specifically for Web3 founders. There are other places where founders do go and work from, but it's very diverse community in those groups. Here, we're solely focused on Web3, and a big part of our mission is to really invoke local change. So we're looking to help San Francisco overcome its complex issues like homelessness, like housing inequality, through the mobilization powers of Web3, and to see if we can figure out here in San Francisco how to leverage Web3. And if we can figure it out here, we can scale it globally. That's definitely one of the core missions and visions of the House of Web3.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to it as well. I mean, I visited the House of Web3. It's an absolute gorgeous location and gorgeous space as well. I know a lot of effort and time has been put into it. So thanks to your team for putting that together, because I think it's super nice to see things kind of getting back to San Francisco. I feel like during the pandemic, people left San Francisco to get some cheaper rent or go travel a bit. As people went remote, but it's great to see how people are slowly kind of coming together and really missing that like conversational aspect of networking as well. Can you elaborate a bit more on the membership process for those listeners that might be interested, or how does that work? Is it paid? Is it what is the requirements on that end?
Absolutely. Thank you for the warm words about the space. You guys should definitely all come visit when you're in town in San Francisco. So the House of Web3 is based on merit for those in Web3. There is an application process on edgenode.com. If you go to that URL and click on House of Web3 in the upper right-hand corner and scroll down a bit, you can request an invite to come to the space and co-create out of here. The form is fairly straightforward, asks about your past involvement within the blockchain space, what you're currently working on, and why you want to be a part of the House of Web3 community. Right now, for those who are qualified, we're providing complimentary membership through the end of March. We have a very deep pipeline of people, so working through that funnel very diligently, making sure we have the highest quality of people coming into the space. Once that complimentary period is over, I do not have definitive communications ready to share with you on next steps, but that should be coming in the next few weeks. So we'll be happy to update y'all when that time comes.
A bit on what those qualifications typically look like, if you have any insight on that?
Totally. So there's a very diverse cohort that has applied to co-create out of the space. By and large, I would say at least 50% of the applicants are founders, whether they're technical founders or founders on the business side of things. That would be the largest share of the pie chart. But after that comes software engineers, hardware engineers. There's people that have brought in manufacturing equipment and are literally assembling hardware wallets in the space. There are business people that are coming in to close deals. We've had some lawyers from Paradigm come in, work from the space, shake some hands, make some deals. There's VCs that come in. So what we look for are high quality individuals who are ready to collaborate, ready to contribute, and have been in the space for honestly as little as 3 to 6 months, as long as they're really in it for the long run. And I think the people that are still in the space right now that are focused and building are the ones that will be here 3, 5, 10 years from now, because I think the market downturn has definitely shaken off the speculators, and now just the core believers, I think, are the ones left standing, and the cream rises to the top, honestly.
Yeah. And, I think it speaks volumes, how much of that pie chart would be founders to the space that you guys have created and the success that you've had. For such a majority of applicants to play such a lead role in Web3, I think is very impressive.
Agreed. Yeah, we just had our hard launch January 23rd, so we're still scaling. We're very much a startup. Everything is really fluid, and we're continuing to iterate on all fronts and really ensuring that this place is the mecca of Web3 innovation. And I think we're going to get there.
One thing I did want to also ask you, can you talk about the actual space? Because it is absolutely gorgeous, from the paintings, from everything to, I don't know, just the environment, the feel, the amenities. Can you kind of share a bit about that and talk about the actual space in terms of design?
Totally. So we're in the heart of the Presidio in San Francisco. We are on federal land in a national forest. The space is right next to the Walt Disney Museum. Once you enter the House of Web3, it is just an incredibly warm and welcoming space. White walls everywhere, natural light everywhere, just very bohemian aesthetic to the entire space. It's about 13,000 square feet of open co-creation areas. There are private telephone rooms. I'm in one of them right now. There's a lot of communal workshop areas where people set up shop and do their thing, heads down, and then they can pop off their headphones and see what their fellow builders are working on. And I think natural communication and that human element contributes to creativity and really creating the next big thing. We have a multi-purpose room where we could fit upwards of 200 people for a panel. For instance, we have yoga in there. It's very much a multi-purpose room. There's views of Alcatraz. There's views of the Golden Gate Bridge. We have food trucks outside every single day, all sorts of global cuisines. Everything's amazing. Everything's of the highest quality here. Herman Miller chairs everywhere, smart TVs, Apple XDR displays. This place, I think, will breed the next unicorn companies within Web3.
Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't sell it to the listeners already, I mean, it's a truly beautiful space.
You know, and
That description oozes like high quality. Like everything you said about the House of Web3, just like you can feel it's like a high quality place for high quality individuals to come together and like take the space to the next level.
Yeah, you know, and I think it speaks to the energy that is at Edgenode and the Graph. Apparently, you know, I mean, to the outsider looking in, a place like that might seem like a trophy, you know, like a badge of accomplishment, and you know, perhaps it is to an extent. But I feel like, you know, the way that you're explaining it, it's more of a starting point, right? So it's not the end. It's not the trophy. That's where things begin.
I think so. I agree with you. And I definitely cannot wait to give you guys the full visual tour, because honestly, words don't even describe how awesome this place is. Like, I'm super grateful to work from here 5 days a week. I have honestly the best commute in the world. I have a 10-15 minute walk through a national forest to get to work, and very grateful to be coming to this space. And it definitely motivates and brightens my day on a daily basis. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. And it really is very foundational right now.
Nice.
And we're taking it day by day, and we're going to get to the vision.
That's amazing. Almost to like pretty much wrap up this conversation, we always like to kind of leave it off at what projects are you currently excited about, like within the blockchain space? I know you guys see a lot of different unicorns, see a lot of different exciting projects coming in and out your guys' door. What truly excites you? Is it an industry? Is it a project specifically? I'll kind of leave that up to you. And then what makes them truly unique?
For me, there's a couple of sectors that I'm deeply passionate about outside of what I'm working on here at Edgenode. So one of those sectors being decentralized physical infrastructure networks, as I briefly spoke about earlier. I think Helium was the innovator in democratizing how physical infrastructure is built out and incentivizing normal everyday people like me to go out there and build an IoT and 5G network. For those who aren't familiar with Helium, it is a decentralized people's network, essentially. So the IoT network is providing connectivity to low power, low data transfer sensors. For example, let's say agricultural sensors that are measuring the moisture levels in soil so farmers can better track the health of their crops. And it does so at a fraction of the cost of the traditional players. Right now, there's an effort to decentralize 5G connectivity. So I set up 5G access points across San Francisco. Eventually, I think the ultimate goal is to have the big boy telecoms like the AT&Ts of the world offload onto the Helium network in places where there isn't high quality data connectivity and access. And I think Helium pioneered the business model for crypto incentivized infrastructure buildouts. One project that I'm super excited about is called Hive Mapper. It is a mission to decentralize mapping. So for instance, a Google Street View car costs about $500,000, just one vehicle. The data it maps probably maps once every 12 to 24 months. That map data could become outdated relatively quickly. Many parts of the world aren't mapped just due to it not being cost benefit wise for Google to invest in those geographies. So Hive Mapper sells a $600-700 dash cam. You put it up in your vehicle, go about your day as you normally would, and you're mapping the environment. And for creating that mapping data, you're compensated in the Honey token. And I think it's an awesome passive income stream for the everyday normal person just commuting to work. And I think the use cases for professional drivers, rideshare drivers, truckers is just super brilliant and innovative. It's just another income stream that it opens up. I'm super bullish on proof of mobility and cryptocurrency incentivized operations of automobiles. Hive Mapper kind of leads me into the third project that I'm super bullish on called DIMO, DIMO. It is essentially a data miner for your car's combustion engine or for your EV's battery. So if you have a new enough car, probably in the last 5-6 years, if it was manufactured, if it has smart car connectivity, you do not even need hardware. You could just connect the DIMO app to your smart car's connectivity, and it will provide you various metrics of your car, like, for instance, battery voltage, where your car is currently located, your gas levels, some engine data. And if you really want to take it to the next level, you can buy the data miner. It goes into your car's OEM port or OBD port. I get the two acronyms confused from time to time, but it goes into your car's port, OBD. Awesome. So it goes into the OBD port, and it's pretty much plug and play. And you're harvesting this data, and developers would need to procure this DIMO token. They burn the token. It reduces the supply. In theory, it should increase the value of the token, and developers can build on top of this DIMO stack. And for instance, I was leasing my Volkswagen for the past 3 years. I attached it to DIMO connectivity probably 12 months ago or so, and they're partnered with LeaseEnd. And I went through the DIMO referral process with LeaseEnd, and I bought out my lease through their referral program and was airdrop DIMO tokens. And I think they're building a very unique solution to a very unique problem, because automobile manufacturers are very closed gardens of data. Right. It's not very accessible. Like if I hit up any manufacturer, they would not want to share whatever car specific data they have about me. But DIMO unlocks that potential, and it allows developers to build on top of an automobile stack that I don't think has been built on before. Wow. So super excited for those three decentralized physical infrastructure networks. And outside of that, I'm super bullish on decentralized sports betting.
Hmm.
I think bet to play is going to be really big. I do not believe in play to earn. I think play to earn was a fun experiment with Axie,
Right,
but we
right.
all see how that turned out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think a bet to play approach is going to be interesting. So, for instance, you put in $5 and you get into a battle royale of 100 players, and the top 3 players win a piece of the pot. I think
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see as time progresses, and definitely sports betting is another decentralized vertical that I think I'm super excited for. Just betting on the Super Bowl was a chore for me since I'm in California.
Yeah.
It's not legal. I had to go through a VPN, go on Bovada, deposit Solana, deal with all this stuff. So I think decentralized sports betting is going to open up a lot of doors.
Right. Yeah. I think your insights into those, real world solutions that utilize blockchain technology, and some real, you know, utility tokens where you're being rewarded for your data mining, or things like that. Some very awesome examples of how Web3 really is making a tangible difference, right? You get lost in the Web3 Twitter. It seems like a bunch of nonsense at times, but there's also those super innovative projects that are really kind of changing the standards of how things are done, and promoting decentralization in a lot of areas where it will be very beneficial. Um, so yeah, excellent projects that you shared there.
Thank you for letting me rant about them.
Hey, of course. Yeah, thank you again, George, for coming on. We appreciate your time so much. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Very much appreciate the time as well. And I hope to see you guys at the House of Web3. And I encourage your community that are both local and global to also apply to co-create at the House of Web3. And if anyone ever has any questions, hit me up on Telegram at George Labunsky or shoot me an email at george@edgenode.com. Happy to answer any questions and connect with any of your community.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to be having some more guests on in future episodes. So let us know down in the comments what you guys thought of this Crypto Club. And we will see you next week.